We have some news to hit on here at the top. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are continuing to get some reinforcements. Adam Schefter reported today that the Buccaneers have opened the 21-day practice window for wide receivers Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan. They're eligible to be activated off injured reserve at any time during the 21-day window. Mike Evans was officially listed as a limited participant in practice with his collarbone injury. This is a big deal, Nate. Number one, because, hey, Jalen McMillan, you guys forgot about him? I definitely forgot about him at times this year. He is certainly a human being that could potentially help this offense, coming off a really serious neck injury, so we'll see what happens there. But, man, I think this team really, really needs Mike Evans, and it's just a reminder that at no point this year have we seen the Bucs as they were supposed to be. Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin didn't start the season, and then once those guys kind of got back, then Bucky Irving was gone, and then Mike Evans was gone, and it is on and on and on and on it goes, man. So we might actually get a fully stocked Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense here with, I think, the receiver core that they were originally planning to have at this point of the season.
All's well that ends well, apparently. Yeah, they're just sans a right guard, essentially, at this point in time. But at one point, they were missing, it felt like, every starter except for Baker Mayfield. I feel like every spot has had some shifting or some moving where it hasn't been the same face for all 12, 13 weeks, I should say. But no, this is what you want to see. This is an offense that so many of us had optimism about. I think it was a consensus or unanimous top 10 offense, even higher for some people, because one, the strength of the offensive line, which has been slowly getting healthier and is finally more or less fully operational. Cody Mock has been gone for a while now, but the Mike Evans thing is huge because when Chris Godwin has come back, which is of course a key component, he is definitely a half step slower. Eye test anecdotally. That makes sense. I'm not shocked to put it that way. But Mike Evans though has been more of a, not to say I underrated him, but more with Baker and how Baker likes to play and attacking outside and giving his guys chances. That's where I'm like, oh yeah, you really do miss Mike Evans, as opposed to, the screen game has been knocked down. The screen game is less effective. I've talked about that a couple times on recent shows on Football 301, but I do think Mike Evans and that winning those isolated matchups, that's really what's been missing in this offense. There's a lot of guys that can run outbreakers. There's some fun stuff over the middle that they can do, but those vertical throws, that is what's been missing this offense. And that's the Mike Evans special. It's a safety net of some sorts especially for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I've been harping on this a lot. I just wrote a piece about this on both Rome Odunze and Emeka Egbuka, the two receivers who started so hot this year. And it's funny when you start breaking them down. Actually,
they're good.
I agree. They are neither. This slump that these two guys are in, it's not like they've done nothing, ever since. But it's definitely they've been in. It's been very up and down, and Egbuka really has just the one game against the Patriots, whereas Odunze has two good games in here, but the zero catch game is between those two good games. So it's just like, that's going to make it feel pretty bad. The floor has just been very low on him for a variety of different reasons. And we won't get into all those. You and I we talked the Bears to death, which has been nice. Cause you forget, hey, when you talk Bears on your podcast, Bears Twitter is going to pick that bad boy up and they're going to circulate that thing. So
quickly.
We're going to do some numbers on yesterday's 301 episode.
We released the podcast and I was already getting tagged. Like, it felt like an hour later. I was like, how'd you even get to that point in the show already? But it just came out. So yeah, no. Bears Twitter. There's a fever right now and they're excited to talk about their Bears right now.
There's a fever and we're happy to stoke the fire. We're happy to stoke the fever there. So but it's just, again, it's funny because both these guys have sort of similar reasons for the slump. For Egbuka specifically, again, this is a guy that was averaging 89 yards per game in the first 5 weeks of the season. Since then, 49 yards per game. And I think this sort of happens, right, Nate, where you get a receiver room that is super banged up, and it's the Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson show. And for a while, it's like, well, look, they're getting away with it. And then as the weeks go on, there's diminishing returns here. And I think the biggest thing for me is that because the other two guys are 142-pound Tez Johnson and Sterling Shepard, a bajillion years into his career as a slot-only player, Egbuka has to basically play that X receiver position. And I think it's nice to see that he can win there. And his slot rate is actually only 21% the last 2 weeks with Chris Godwin because he's also a slot player. Like, he doesn't really solve this problem for them. So I think it's nice to see that he can win there. but we probably don't want him there on a 75-80% basis. And we now it's the receiver room that we should have originally had. Evans at X, Igbuka as the movement Z, and then Chris Godwin as that power slot. And I think that's sort of the best usage of all of these guys together.
It is. And I mean, the comparison I had even for Ibuka, and I think it's just a common, archetype, is Godwin as far as just what he can maybe become. And I think he's been a little bit different than even I envisioned. And mostly just because of everything you say is because he had to. It's because they're like, all right, I know Baker Mayfield and Sterling Shepard have the out-route chemistry going back for a decade now, but it's still like you need guys to run those in breakers. You need guys to win on the screens as well, because that's still a healthy part of this offense. So now just seeing more, he slots in, pun some intended, back into because I envision him as a Z that can move into as a power slot, just like Godwin. And Godwin, though, has always been able to win as an isolated guy. You just don't want him to do it as the steady diet. You just want it as a little part of it. Yeah. And that's, again, it's just the slotting into roles that makes sense. And on top of it, Bucky Irving being back, and you could feel the juice that he brought in the run game as well. It's just that it makes Baker not have to be so hero ballish and just when all these guys are getting back to the roles. Because now if you have Ibuka and an 80% Godwin back in their roles, then the stuff that beats zone is better because those two will work in conjunction with each other, with Mike Evans working in isolation. It just makes every answer easier. So zone is easier. Man coverage is easier. So it's just it makes them more matchup proof. And it is something I really want. I'm excited to see once Evans comes back, because I just want to know where the Bucs stand, because I really have no idea how to feel about them. It's like at times I feel real good about them. At times I feel lesser about them, and they just feel so inconsistent. It's like, maybe it's just Mike Evans. Maybe that's what has just been missing for this entire equation, is just this guy. And that would make just so much more sense with the easy answers to it as well.
Yeah, it's not just the answers that he provides for Baker. It's slotting everybody else into the correct position and just how important he is into the offense. So I think it's going to be big to have him back, and anything that they can get from McMillan too, who I think is a nice move around player in his own right. I think that will really help as well. And honestly, I'm glad that we opened the show talking about them, because they almost sort of fit into this. They would have been the cheating answer to say that they were the mid offense that I'm excited to see down the stretch. They have a super easy schedule stretch, not just because they played the Panthers twice. Sharp Football Analysis has them as the easiest strength of schedule down the stretch. They played us twice. Unlike Carolina, who has to play Seattle at some point, they have the Dolphins in week 17. So there really is a good runway here to not just figure out who the Bucs are, as you mentioned, but also a good runway here to see, like, can this team put up some production from an offensive standpoint that we have not seen so far? Because that was something that, again, writing up this piece for Igbuka, I thought, like, the number one thing that you'll probably think between these two guys is that, one of them plays, with Caleb Williams and the Bears. The other one plays with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. The Bucs have not been a good offense from a statistical perspective this year. They're 22nd in points per drive, 29th in success rate, 17th explosive play rate, and 18th in EPA per play. Like, I think I will take the over on all of those numbers.
Yes.
The rest of the way.
Yeah, not maybe to the top 5, maybe ceiling that you would think, but that just makes sense. Everybody's at different timelines and health and everything and chemistry. But it is a team that has played together. Like, Ibuka really is the only new face compared to last year. When you're actually looking at this team, right guard as well. But no, I'm totally with you. If you put the over under at 16 or 16 and a half, I'm taking the healthy over. Like, I think they are going to be a top 10 offense against a neutral schedule. And, I usually use DVOA for stuff. You had the Sharp Football stuff. But for FTN DVOA's metric, they have the second easiest offensive schedule left. So it's an easy schedule, and they're getting almost full strength. I'm pretty excited to see what it becomes, but I do feel more optimism about it. I will say the run game has been the biggest kind of like drop off compared to last year.
Definitely.
That is where it's really missing. The screens as well in the pass game. I always bring that up, but it's just such a big part of their offense. That's why I keep bringing it up. But the screens is one thing, but the run game has just been, it went from awesome last year, a true, I would say, elite offensive run game, to, I would say, below average to even bad at times. So I'm excited to see even if they just get to above average, that's just going to make everything else so much easier. Again, Baker doesn't have to be hero ball. And when Baker can just play confident, pick and choose his explosive spots, then they start cooking. And when you're going against the second easiest schedule, yeah, like you might see some like real fireworks from this offense soon.